Welcome to ARPIA, the advanced reasoning platform for intelligent applications. Today's tools fall short. Dashboards only show the past. Assistants lack governance. And heavy platforms are complex and costly. Enterprises are left in silos. The shift is here, from data to knowledge to AI orchestration into reasoning that drives real value. ARPIA is the next-generation enterprise platform that transforms data into knowledge, orchestrates AI reasoning, and delivers business outcomes. Finance, markets decoded. Every decision makes the next one smarter. Cyber defense, defense that learns with every alert. Enterprise, execution intelligence that improves with every decision. Compliance, every correction makes compliance smarter. Retail, from prediction to execution, each sale sharpens tomorrow's strategy. Wholesale, pipelines that learn as your team sells. Supply chain, resilience that grows with every delivery. This is not normal AI. This is ARPIA, where execution becomes intelligence. And the future begins now.
Please welcome CX and Training and Development at ARPIA, Sergio Vega, the GTM leadership at Anthropic, Ashraf Alhashim, and the Chief Executive Officer at ARPIA, Moises Vega.
Moses and Ash, thank you for joining me. And Ash, welcome to ARPIA's home. Ash.
Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome. And Ash, knowing you've been traveling lately, how was your trip here?
It was very nice. I flew Copa Air and had a nice overnight flight. I got about 5.5 hours of sleep, which is not too different from having two young boys who wake me up very early. So I had a good rest, and I'm energized and ready for tomorrow.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Moses, before we start and dive in, what's been the most exciting thing happening in ARPIA lately?
Well, one of the things that most exciting is that I feel like we are unleashing the power of AI into reasoning. So we are very happy on that. Most of the discoveries we are doing on the use cases on our customers.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, today we'll explore how ARPIA is building the world's first enterprise reasoning platform, orchestrating data, knowledge humans, agentic AI, and robots. Anthropic powers that reasoning with Claude, the intelligence engine trusted by for safe and aligned AI. Together, this partnership shows what's possible when reasoning meets intelligence. Getting started. Moses, how does ARPIA define the reasoning platform, and how is it different from agentic AI assistants or dashboards?
Yes, well, I believe that one of the powerful things of ARPIA is the reasoning concept. You know, reasoning is a mix of many things working together to generate value. So I believe that if we can bring that reasoning in a conscious way to an organization, that there are a lot of assets, humans, machines, assistants, now AI agents, if they can work together and know each one have the context of what value they are delivering to the organization, I believe that to deliver that, reasoning has to be in place. And how you achieve reasoning is, well, yeah, data, but bringing that data to a concept of knowledge. And once you have that knowledge with governance, privacy control, compliance, and all the things that are very important for the enterprise level, then you can bring in a very straightforward intelligence or AI model that will start, mining that data in a very fast way to deliver reasoning and deliver results and values and value.
Excellent perspective. Ash, Anthropic has been pioneering trustworthy AI with Claude. How do you see Claude as the intelligence engine inside ecosystems like ARPIA?
Yeah, that's a great question. Reasoning engine actually is a very apt descriptor of what we're building. And the way we really think about what we're doing at Anthropic is kind of our mission is really to enable our enterprise customers to be able to build with our models. We think of our offering as less of an application or a model specifically, and more as infrastructure or intelligence infrastructure that then, again, organizations like ARPIA can build with. So we see ourselves as building these very general purpose and highly capable models that can do a lot of things. And we build certain fundamental building blocks around and alongside those models so that, again, companies can go that last mile. We see ourselves as really the kind of general purpose model that, again, companies like ARPIA can go and with your industry expertise and the orchestration layers and being able to like serve as the connective tissue between different systems and humans and modules within organizations. We look to you to be able to deliver that value in that last way. So it's a very collaborative and very kind of a harmonious ecosystem that we're building with our customers because we are so focused on the enterprise and not on consumers.
Thank you. Excellent perspective also. That gives us a powerful picture of vision and strategy. And now let's see how it's already becoming a reality. Moises, could you share one or two customer examples where ARPIA, powered by Claude, has transformed reasoning into real-world execution?
Yeah, as Ash was telling, and that's a great question also, Cloud has been proven, it's something that we as an orchestrator platform, we can, check it out and see it in live, is how different models, they work together, to generate value to the organization. And one of the powerful features we see in Claude is how he can understand the enterprise context, So when most of our users for their high reasoning model, they use Claude. They use these LLM models by Anthropic that will deliver a lot of context and responses very aligned to what he's achieving or receiving from our knowledge layer. So, for example, we have use cases like dynamic pricing that has been deployed in many organizations, that basically what he's doing is they say orchestration. The knowledge is bringing knowledge from internet signals, from competitor signals, from inventory system signals, supply chain signals, and he's trying to correlate. And with the models, with intelligence, he's bringing this correlation and detecting opportunities of discounts or price adjustment that will impact the sales or the inventory rotation of each of the items that he's delivering. The power here and the value is that this used to be done before on months by a team of people. Now this is being brought AI with reasoning, and all these models are bringing the most valuable items that the human then has to, it's like giving superpowers to the human beings. Now, instead of doing something for months, I can do it very fast in days or in hours. And the AI working together will bring me the valuable items I have to see and what's the impact expected. And this is one of the important things of each of the use cases we deliver on the enterprise, is that the systems and this type of models, general models, they need feedback. They need to understand what worked and what did not work. And that feedback is being ingested back for each new improvement. So I think that's one of the most powerful. We are applying this concept to cyber defense. We are applying to financial markets. We are applying it to a diverse type of industries and generating very interesting results.
Excellent. A great deal. Measuring superhuman. Ash, from a go-to-market perspective, when companies choose Claude, what do they highlight as a differentiator, especially in reasoning orchestration platforms like ARPIA?
I think there are about maybe three categories of why companies choose Anthropic's models, Claude models. The first, I think, far and away is model quality and general capability. When I say model quality, that means a few things. I mean, we're talking about things like accuracy on a task, measured by F1 score, precision, recall, but very, very technical kind of ways to evaluate model abilities relative to a specific enterprise use case. If models aren't smart and aren't good enough to be able to do these things accurately time and again, companies simply will not choose them. And luckily for us, our research team is the best in the world, and we have more often than not, across most use cases in the enterprise, the best models in the world, particularly with in domains like coding and reasoning. So I would say that's the first pillar, but there's another part to that pillar, which is also model capability. So things like not just accuracy of a model's output, but its ability to actually do and perform long horizon tasks successfully and reliably. So we just rolled out a 1,000,000 token context window length, upgraded from our 200,000 token length, which, we've had this for some time, but we chose not to release it until we got it to a place where accuracy and recall were very, very high, which is very, very, again, important to our customers in terms of securing trust. And in addition to that, when you look at the average length of a task that our models are capable of performing end to end, that amount of time has been increasing very, very fast over the last year to 18 months. Our biggest model, our flagship model, Claude Opus 4, recently one of our customers in Japan actually had it refactor an entire code base end to end, and it just hit go. Claude ran the task, completed it successfully. It took about 7 hours, but Claude completely redid the whole code base on its own, one shot. This is the kind, this is an unusual kind of, it's like on the outer end of distribution of what's possible, but we're seeing our models consistently complete tasks that are taking an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours now, and that number is only going to go up. And then finally, on that first pillar, when I talk about model quality, it's also capability. So things like building Claude Code, which is an agentic coding platform, building and pioneering the Model Context Protocol, what we call MCP, which is a way to build connectors across different data and applications and services, and open sourcing it so that other businesses can reliably connect Claude to other systems. This is a big part of, again, that reach of models being useful for companies. That's pillar one. Pillar two is, I would say, safety and reliability. When I talk about safety, this is in our heritage. We're an AI safety and research company at our core. We happen to sell models because you have to, where you live in a capitalistic environment, you have to fund your company's growth. But really, at our core, we are a research team. And safety is very, very important to us, and it's very important to our customers. The opposite side of safety is, if you're not using safe models, there's a lot of business liability that's at stake here. So reputational damage, criminal consequence in certain cases. There's just a lot of things that could go wrong. So when you look at things like the jailbreakability of models, when you look at things like hallucination rates, reliability, interpretability, being able to understand, peek under the hood and understand why a model is taking the action that it's taking. Anthropic is a leader on all of these things. It's the most least likely to be jailbroken. It's the most honest and aligned AI as measured by a variety of benchmarks in the industry. And our customers trust us to not just produce great models, but also models that they can rely on. And then finally, I would say it's our enterprise readiness. So I talked about this in the first question a little bit, but again, we're not building for consumers. I have a lot of friends who are lawyers, a lot of friends who are investment bankers, and they say to me things like, when will you guys build a vertical specific model that helps me do my job better? When will you build a legal research engine version of your model? We're not going to do that. What we believe in is building, again, that general purpose, very highly intelligent model, and then handing the baton off to our friends at ARPIA and other customers in other industries to take it that last mile where they have that expertise and the know-how.
Well, that's a very eye-opening way on how you've planted the situation. Yes. And this day-to-day in the world where we're constantly evolving, most companies are looking for speed, but accuracy. If it's not accurate, they won't accept it. Now, piggybacking a little bit in the subject that you went into, ensuring a little bit about staying safe, being reliable, and customer-centric, could you expand a little bit more in the part of how Anthropic safely does this approach?
Yeah. So again, safety, when you look at some of the research we've done in the earliest days, Constitutional AI. So I've been in AI for a very long time. Before Anthropic, I was at a company called Scale AI for about 3 years. My team, the team I led there, supported all of the foundational model builders in the world. So the biggest foundation model builders in the world that you use or have heard of, my team was helping them train their models with a lot of human data evaluation, red teaming support. And so I got to know very closely how a lot of these frontier labs built and trained their models. And what I really liked about Anthropic, and one of the reasons I decided to join Anthropic was, among many reasons, but this was one of them, was this concept of constitutional AI. So what constitutional AI, first of all, let me maybe take a step back. Does anyone know how these models are trained, generally speaking? A little bit. So a very simplified way of saying it, but the short answer is you get a lot of data from humans, right? First, you get a lot of data from the internet. You just ingest as much data, trillions of, or hundreds of billions or trillions of tokens of internet data and textbook data, whatever you can get your hands on, and you ingest it in the pre-training phase. Then after that, you do a lot of kind of fine tuning and reinforcement learning, where humans will essentially give the model inputs and outputs, questions and answers, prompts and responses. And the model learns after tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of these examples, the relationship between what a good prompt would look like and what a good answer to a prompt look like. In other words, it learns how to follow instructions. This is a very time and cost, very high time and cost factors here. So one of the things that Anthropic pioneered was this concept of constitutional AI, which essentially is, rather than just feeding the model a lot of human inputs and outputs in the post-training phase, constitutional data, essentially constitutional, what we're doing here is we're essentially teaching the model policies. And then the output of the model, it grades itself against the output and figures out like how aligned or unaligned to the constitution it was fed that answer was. And then it improves over time. So it's kind of like a self-reinforcing mechanism for training models. And when you do this at scale, two benefits. Number one is you actually get models that are more aligned with human values, integrity, harmlessness, honesty, helpfulness. But also it's a very capital efficient way to train models. So you end up being a much more capital efficient company when you use something like constitutional AI. So it's research like this, constitutional AI. It's research like around the research we've done in interpretability, understanding again what parts of the brain of the model light up when different things are talked about, then being able to figure out like how to steer things if things go wrong. These are the kinds of research areas around safety that really make Anthropic stand out.
That's very eye-opening, Ash, regarding that. And you're totally right. Building models, training models takes time. And that's why many people think this is a trend. AI started now, but it's been decades and decades of work and people spending hours, days, months, years to get the most accurate model, to the point where, like when people were testing their code and they wanted to do automatic things to find all the bugs as quickly as possible, they would just run it automatically to seal those bugs. Now we do it with these models, which has been very eye-opening how you placed it. Now, going with Moises, could you provide some highlights regarding the ARPIA platform regarding governance and compliance in the reasoning cycles aligned with what Ash said?
Yes, well, Ash has talked about the process of building an LLM model very, very well. And we believe the part of the constitution. And one of the things we call that in the enterprise is the strategy. The strategy becomes, how we can give that context to these AI engines to understand what is not just general, but bring it a little bit more on where he's working, to what organization he's delivering value. So basically, one of those processes is how you do that in a governed way. What the AI has access to the knowledge, what part of that knowledge he has permission to reason, and to whom he's going to provide those type of outcomes. That for us is the governance. Is the governance the AI governance not only starts with the AI model, but it goes from what that AI model has access to and what he can do with that, and what's the context we are providing to him for him understanding what type of data is being ingested. Now, once the context is not enough, and I believe that each time each model is going to bring more context or capacity, but when we talk about billions of data sets, and when we have a documentation that are a lot of gigabytes of data of the organization data that makes the DNA of that. Okay, we're in the retail industry and we both are in the AI industry. What makes it Anthropic different and what makes ARPIA different? That type of context, something has to be built on the model itself. So that makes us also, to apply in a smaller scale to bring those type of LLM models to do some, fine tuning by wire, generating prompts, answers, a lot of data sets, a lot of human tracking. Okay, the promise. What makes this business different on the retail market? Okay, this business, because it's a family owned or it's a corporation and has a lot of decades working on this, the specialties of the. So when you build this type of same data sets and you fine tune the models start bring that to the what we call it, bring it to the real application, and then when you deploy them to the knowledge, real-time knowledge that is being changed every time, he's going to be aligned to deliver value that really makes sense, business sense, to the end users. And I think so that's one of the things that becoming from those general models to more specific, powerful, that will give this type of power to the humans and align those agents that are being deployed, AI agents that are doing automatic workflow, and I believe in the future, robots.
Correct. Very well placed, Moses. Making AI work for you and finding the value from it to make your company work as efficient as possible. Well, we've seen the vision, the practical impact, and the trust foundation. Let's finish by looking ahead at what excites both leaders most about the future and reasoning in this intelligence. Moses, what's one innovation you're most excited about in ARPA's journey as the reasoning platform?
One of the thing that has made me lately like jump from the bed, on excitement of what we are building is, it's like to free up the context of the model. Most of the things I have seen a lot of users trying to, bring all these type of Excels documents and upload those to the models and the model try to do something that even us as human beings have not really the best capacity to do it. So one of the things that we are building, and it makes me very excited, is how we are managing knowledge. Knowledge to generate reasoning. For me, the concept of reasoning is like the value generation of all these engines, AI engines, as Anthropic, as the orchestration, the dev stack, the full stack, everything, involved on producing value. It has to be, empowered by something that really will make something different. And the difference is coming on how these AI engines can access knowledge. Of course, there's all the safeguards and all this, security rails that has to be managed. And that is something that has to be visible, manageable. Because those are the people, yeah, I have it managed, but who has it? Oh, 2 or 3 people that they are the only ones that understand the code that is building and generating the value. No, the idea is to democratize also that type of access, that people, executive people, can see how everything is wired up. I believe that orchestration of reasoning is what makes me like the things that we are building for the next generation.
You mentioned the key word, knowledge and power. But here's the key part, the power of knowing how to use that knowledge correctly, executing it. Ash, tell me, what's one bold bet Anthropic is making as the intelligence engines of the future?
So, I mean, I think one thing we say at the company is that models are only as smart as the data that you feed into them. So, while Claude is very capable and is very knowledgeable about general things, again, we really look to our customers to provide that last mile of information, that last mile of data, industry expertise, connectivity to the right places, and hand wiring to make it very useful at the specific applications that are relevant to them. So I would say the biggest bet we are making in terms of like, well, aside from like general research, I'm talking about business bets, is that specialization should happen at the customer level and not at the model level. The model should be general and very broad. And then if the model continues to get more intelligent over time, then that last mile can get even more powerful and more capable. I think that as this bet kind of continues to, this bet continues to kind of like shake out. The ability for these models to do bigger and better things is going to continue to go up. The time horizon of tasks is going to continue to go up. And then as these things change, new emergent properties will come up. So, less than a year ago, no one would have used a model to write code. I mean, you would use it for like autocomplete, in a line of code, but models just were not smart enough and good enough and reliable enough to be able to write code. Now, again, we have customers who are letting Claude just rip for 7 hours or 2 hours or 1 hour and write code on its own and do mountains of work. There's going to be another one of these inflection points in the near future. I'm not sure exactly which industry or what application it will be, but soon, when the models get smart enough and get past another threshold, they're going to be able to just completely reshape the way they do work. And then in addition to that, we're still just figuring out now, Moises, you brought up kind of the part that like there's humans and there's agents, like that these two things will work together. They complement one another. They are not replacing, agents are not replacing humans. AI is very good at querying hundreds of thousands of tokens in seconds. Humans can't do that. But humans have common sense. Humans understand, offline data and realities and emotional intelligence that models miss. So as we start to figure out how humans and agents can work together, this idea of a digital twin, every employee will have their own digital twin that they can pass work off to. Every employee will be able to manage a team of virtual agents who can do things for them and make them far more productive than they were before. These are the kinds of things that this bet that we are making really will be able to yield in terms of benefit.
Yep, and I agree with you in the part of having people from different niches adapt and then sharing that knowledge into the LLM and then adapting it to that area of work. That's where the key of how this is going to explode and become bigger. So thank you very much, both Moises and Ash. To conclude, let's get some key takeaways. Reasoning platforms like ARPIA and intelligence engines like Anthropic, Claude are not just tools. Together, they're shaping how enterprise thinks, acts, and executes in the next decade.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, both.